Very important Providence mayoral race. We focus on it tonight. Welcome to My State of Mind. I am Dan York. Michael Solomon, the City Council President, is in studio. First time since the filing deadline made that he's appeared here during primary season. And so with just days left before the primary, you can take some notes on this guy who has been vilified and double-teamed by opponents in the Democratic primary as if he's Satan, for crying out loud. So this ought to be pretty interesting. I don't think he's Satan, but he's got a lot of, I don't know, reputation to protect in this primary. It's very interesting. So we'll get to that. By the way, I don't have it on the rundown because it just happened prior to our recording of the program, which we do late afternoon for your 7:30 and then 11:30 viewership. But Joan Rivers passing away today is another signature character in America that has gone on to greener pastures. She was a hurricane, no doubt about it, right? She made me laugh. I had a chance to meet her and actually spend a little quality time with her because years ago, I'm trying to figure out 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years ago, time flies when you're having fun. She actually did a stint at WPRO Radio. Then program director David Bernstein had worked with her in New York, and she came up and spent a week here in Providence and did radio out of WPRO. And she was kind, and she was sweet, and she was accommodating, belying that irascible, edgy figure that she is comedically. So a little soft spot tonight for the loss of Joan Rivers. God rest her soul. She will be missed, no doubt about it. All right, let's go to the rundown here this evening. Yeah, the Democrats had their last one last night. A couple of thoughts on that governor's race. This has become kind of a sticky wicket for Allan Fung, Republican candidate for governor, based on what he said on a Channel 10 debate, reportedly, last night. That will air on Friday. Ooh, bad day for the Secretary of State on the news cycle. I don't know if this will affect the primary election, but it very well may be doing that. And then the playoffs for the PawSox are on, and you got to get out there and support the local team. All right, let's dig in because I want to get through a lot of this stuff. Not that it's get-through material, but I'm interested in a quality conversation with Michael Solomon here this evening. Yeah, last television debate headline for the Republicans. Pension overhaul, job creation, you know, fill in the blank. I mean, there's a dozen issues that affect these races and that you have to decide on. Here's a picture of the candidates. Actually, that's an old picture from the Journal, not last night's Channel 10 debate, but I watched it, and you know, we can't grab that audio because Mayoral TV is connected with Channel 12, the competitive issues, whatever. But my thoughts on it, Clay Pell did enough to look semi-competent unless he's got to shift and think on his feet, and then he still does miserably awfully, right? Gina Raimondo is still the class of the field when it comes to these debates. She is centered. She has her 2 feet on the ground. She's able to shake and roll a little bit. She listens. And she's been able to meld her prefab answers with on-the-come thinking, and I think that's pretty good. Angel Tavares had his best performance, though, last night on television and offered, I thought, a pretty good closing statement and the proof that he's the CEO, the only CEO in the field. Don't discount Angel Tavares if the turnout is significant in the city of Providence. He may just still be competitive there. And although he's only spent half the money, raised and spent half the money that, say, Gina Raimondo and nearly Clay Pell have, he pointed out when asked about it last night that, hey, here I am in the thick of it, and I only had half the money, which is a different way to think about it and leaves him well positioned. It's anybody's guess as we get down toward the primary, no doubt. All right, second issue when it comes to gubernatorial politics, I guess, to toll or not to toll, the Providence Journal has this headline regarding a Channel 10 recorded debate with Allan Fung, the Cranston mayor, and Ken Block, the businessman. Yep, they argue. But one of the things that Allan Fung had to deal with is this strange thing where Channel 10 decides that it wants to record the debate. It gets reported on in the press and tweeted out and all that kind of thing, but you don't see it until Friday. So we don't have the real context for this, but Allan Fung was in my studio on the radio today, and I asked him about this explosion when he reportedly said in a rapid-fire discussion that he was open to the idea of tolling I-95.
First of all, I've never been supportive of tolls, but it was in a rapid fire round question where they were talking about, tolling on 95, yes or no. And it's not an easy yes or no question because the bottom line is this: I never supported tolls. In fact, I was opposed to the Sakonnet River Bridge tolls. But the bottom line is leaders have to listen. And if you don't have all the facts, it's not just an easy yes or no question. So what I said was I'd listen, or some words to that effect.
Here's the thing. Allan Fung has been adamant in getting after Ken Block about any idea of raising fees or taxes and promising he wouldn't. Tolls to you must mean a lot more than just fees and taxes. Tolls is just like kryptonite to Superman for the voters in Rhode Island. So Allan's got a lot on his hands here, and, well, you can think what you want about his answer. That race also coming down to the wire. I have no idea who really is in the lead in that particular race because the polling data is not formally available, although the internals each argue they're leading. We'll see. Days away. Only days away. Ralph Mollis holding on to what? A lead in the WPRI Projo poll a couple of weeks ago, 25-10 or 25-15 over Dan McKee and 10 for Frank Ferry, who, in my judgment, has been useless in this campaign. But Mollis had a bad day. The news cycle was horrific for him. First, the headline in the Providence Journal, Judge Daniel Procaccini mulling whether to sanction the Secretary of State, literally on the 38 Studios investigation over lobbying that stemmed from Tim White's good work. There's Ralph on the show the other day. Tim peppered him on the lobby deals for 38 Studios, and it was only after that happened that Mollis decided to pick up an investigation as to who may have been lobbying and was unregistered to do so. The funny thing about this is that the gentleman, Michael Corso, through his attorneys, has not been cooperative. And so Mollis, rather than realizing that he has empty bullets in his gun from where he is and has been late to the game from where he was, pushes the envelope and petitions the Superior Court for aid in petitioning evidence out. And Judge Procaccini smelled a political rat, thinking this is a show for an election because Mollis is running for lieutenant governor. The judge has not yet sanctioned Mollis, but the threat of it was enough to get on the front page today. That doubled down with this press release sent out by his opponent, Dan McKee, in second place and reportedly climbing. McKee cites that, you know what, Mollis has been talking about surpluses when he was the mayor of North Providence, but says, you know what, the numbers are fake and phony. He held a press conference today. We have audio from our WPRO newsroom.
The town of North Providence was not in the financial shape that former Mayor Mollis said it was. And in this report, you're going to see a restatement of the facts. And if you just read here, just say it. They had to come in and reverse the recognition of revenue and receivable for the sale of a public works facility, which never occurred.
And Dan's pal, North Providence Mayor Charlie Lombardi, who historically has been at Mollis's throat anyway, chimed in, double teamed.
I think the issue here is very, very simple. You can't run for state office or any office for that matter and misrepresent the facts. The facts are the facts, the numbers are the numbers.
You know, Mollis says, well, McKee will say anything to get elected. That's what somebody who's got no answers for the issue says about what the opponent says about what he says. Be careful. Watch this race. 50% undecided in that poll. They may be deciding now. And finally, in an abbreviated rundown here, just wanted to mention the Sox, the PawSox, of course, are in the playoffs. They won 2-1 over Syracuse last night in 10 innings. You know, when this time, there's no season ticket sales, right, for the playoffs, so you got to buy tickets for the games separately. Only 2,300 people in the building at McCoy last night, so get out there for Game 2 if you haven't thought about it already. In fact, it's probably already in progress, but if you live close to the stadium, you can get out over there. The thing about these playoffs in this particular league is that they go 2 at home and then 3 on the road. So best out of 5, Syracuse gets the next 3 games. Good luck to the PawSox on that. And by the way, what is it? What did you say, Jess? 5 out of 7? 5 out of 7 Red Sox affiliates have made the playoffs, while the Red Sox are trying to be a spoiler with the Yankees. All right. There's spoilers in the Providence mayoral race, of course, and big bad Michael Solomon is here. Stay with us. All right, so the Providence mayor's race is about the good guys and the bad guys. You know, it's good versus evil if you believe the guys who say they're good. Check this out.
Can't afford to elect another mayor that is under investigation. We can't afford it as a city.
We all have a role to play in making sure that people like Mike Solomon and Buddy Cianci don't have an opportunity to succeed in our city.
So you have been coupled with the two-time felon, radio host, and former two-time mayor Buddy Cianci in a way that these challengers at least have tried to orchestrate. By the way, welcome. Good to see you.
Thank you, Dan.
What's it like to be? What's it like to be vilified as, like, you know, some kind of real bad player in this game?
I think it's appalling on my end. You know, I feel that to compare me to Buddy Cianci is just totally wrong, and I think they're just grasping at straws right now. I think they both realized as the election was going on that neither one of them had a chance to win.
Well, your polling data indicated that.
Absolutely.
And obviously theirs did too, or they wouldn't have done what they did.
They wouldn't have done what they did.
Brett Smiley and Jorge Alvarado are there. We'll talk about Alvarado in a little bit more depth because he's the lone remainer, because because Smiley and Alvarado merged their campaigns. And of course, I've had a lot of commentary about it here. You know, but when we'll talk about Cianci a little bit. Here's what Cianci said, by the way. Jess, can we throw this up? Jess is at the helm, by the way, tonight.
There are more dropouts in this race than in the Providence school system.
Flashing his celebrated wit, former Mayor Cianci tried to sound unconcerned. Does it say something about the damage of 2 felony convictions that they are going through these maneuvers to gang up against you?
That's very possible, but, you know, I'm legally entitled to run.
You know, this is the most unique election year I've seen in a long time for all sorts of reasons. The theater over how bad this guy is. Talk to me about it.
It is. It's obviously, you know, the guy's been convicted twice, and I think it's national news, and what's happening is it's gaining national attention.
So you think the theater is legitimate? You think the theater is legitimate?
It's out there. It's out there. Let's face it. We have people. I get calls from California,
but here,
Pennsylvania.
You know what's interesting about that? I think there's this kind of surface interest that the rest of the world will have on what's going on in the city of Providence. But when it comes to the electorate in Providence, there's not much new. They're pretty settled in. Folks who are going to support Cianci will support him come hell or high water. Folks who won't. You know, there's some shimmy that he's going to have to achieve in order to be able to win the election, but it's not new news, and there's nothing really provocative. It's kind of like an old shoe story, right?
Right. And I look at it that way, that most of the data that we've seen, Buddy Cianci traditionally needs a 3-man race, and that's the way he's always won in the past.
Well, he's going to get one.
Well, I'm not sure it's the third candidate's a strong enough candidate to draw enough. And that's what you have to look at.
Well, Dan Harrop, the Republican who's been here, has been kind of, I wouldn't say he's riding the fence, but he's not been completely consistent on whether he's going to stay in the race.
Absolutely.
So if he stays in the race and is worth anywhere from, what, 6 to 15 points maybe-ish as a Republican, a little bit less, how does that impact the race? Now, again, we're getting ahead of ourselves because you've got to win the primary, but...
And that's what I've been focusing on is the primary. I really haven't
But go ahead and answer that question, then we'll wind back.
Obviously, he takes away from the candidate that doesn't like Buddy Cianci, that won't vote for Buddy Cianci. So, you know, if he's...
So you need him out of the race?
Not necessarily. I think we could still win. I know we can win.
Would you make him an offer to come out of the race?
Would I,
like some kind of administrative position, some kind of plank that you'll respect?
I would ask him that if he really cares about the city of Providence, would he get out of? Would he drop out of the race?
All right. So just put up the headline that Mike's had to deal with here. Let's see if we can't get because this is the which one? The one on his investigation. You know, the one that he's you know, you are under investigation. Now listen, I'm going to be the one to say, and I've said it before. Okay. There's a big difference between an ethics panel investigation and the FBI, for crying out loud.
Exactly.
This is you assert that this is a paperwork problem when it comes to the loan that you have for your private business.
This complaint was filed by a Republican candidate, and people could file complaints
for council.
All the time for council, and it was a clerical error because I fill them out every year. If I don't get a notice saying, Mike, you filled it out wrong. Can you come back in and you missed something? So you take it for granted every year you fill them out. You fill them out the right way. It's just, it's a paper, mistake. And what happened was 2 things. One was a mortgage that I had on a piece of property, and the other one was the PEDP loan. I listed the property, but I didn't list the loan. And it was an honest mistake. And when it was brought to our attention, by the way, everyone knows I have that loan, so it wasn't like I was hiding
It's not
that
a military
loan.
secret. It certainly has been the subject of a lot of thought. And on that loan, you got about a principal $400,000 or so left on the restaurant loan. You got partners. I see the argument that says you ought to pay that thing off before you put that like kind of money into the campaign itself. You say what?
I say that loan is like a mortgage, and we continue to pay the terms of that mortgage. That property, that loan set out to do two things: spur economic development and create jobs. We've went through 28 years of struggling with it through 3 recessions. And the fact that we've stayed committed to that loan and didn't walk away from it should tell you something.
Yeah, that's a low bar.
And I've yet to
staying committed to a loan is not a great feat.
That one it was.
No,
I haven't yet to make a cent on that project. But what I'm saying is we stayed committed. We stayed committed to the project. It created jobs, and it spurred economic development for Westminster Street. I mean, look at Westminster Street today.
And the restaurant is what that actually is?
Is the Coal Fire Pizza.
I hear they got good wings.
Which we put more money into. I mean, we had to put more money into it. But I mean, they were honest mistakes that, when brought to our attention, we corrected them. Now let's move the campaign on. But to say that I belong in prison because of a clerical error, I think that's carrying it a bit too far.
All right, when we come back, we'll talk about his opponent in the primary race and a couple of issues, actually. Stay with us.
In all truth, the feedback that we have received has been very, very positive. You know, people understand that this all arose because I chose to be upfront, and I chose to go and I chose to put this out there so that voters would know. So I've spoken honestly, I've spoken openly, and I've spoken genuinely about myself and my campaign from the beginning. That's what voters can expect to continue seeing, and that's what they can expect from an Elorza administration.
So that Jorge Elorza stuff is about, in large part, this admittance that when he was 18, he ripped off a shirt from a store, which you didn't really jump on much, because, I mean, what are you going to do? Right?
He was 18 years old.
Right. But then he campaign strategy, he puts out a letter, 7,000 potential voters in June, that we find out reflects the same language that James Diosa, by coincidence, who ripped off a bottle of cologne or something. Like, what? And there's a plagiaristic aspect to this. My impression of this whole thing is, even that, while bad form, isn't the end of the world. But is he telling the truth about whether he knew he was plagiarizing? So take it from there. What is your concern about
I think that's the biggest concern, that if he knew, if he saw that
he asserts he doesn't.
Diosa letter beforehand, and by the way, he's a supporter of Diosa's, he's close with Diosa.
Right.
So, but if he saw, and I'm not implying, but I'm just saying that he's got a relationship with him. If he saw that letter ahead of time, then I would say that that's a serious flaw in his character.
What do you think happened?
I have no idea. You would have to ask him on that.
However, come on, behind the scenes, the current is running very hard that this advisor that supplied him the letter or wrote it for him, depending on the story, is arguing a point. And there are people in your camp who know who the guy is, there are people in Elorza's camp who know who the guy is, but no one will speak on the record. So it's not like you're completely naive to the situation. So one more time, tell me what you think happened.
That's something for him to answer. I don't know what's going on.
Are you going to put pressure? I mean, you haven't put much on. I mean, in the next few days for him to talk about the advisor, or is that ship sailed?
I think he should.
Naming the advisor.
I think he should name the advisor. Truthfully, I think he should name the advisor.
Right, well, this guy.
But that's something that he knows.
So Jorge, who I've been impressed with in many ways when he visits here, though, he's got some stains on his jacket, to steal Cianci's line now, with some of these little missteps that have hurt. Come on, maybe neutralizing this whole complaint that you were some kind of bad actor. Tell me what issue separates you and him from for the electorate.
I think most importantly, I think the fact that I have experience, that I've worked in government the last 4 years in a lead position in government, and we've made a lot of tough choices. So I'm not afraid to make tough choices in the city. Some of them, those choices were unpopular choices, but we've made them because we had to do what was best for our city.
All right. So
and I think
your vision of the city, is going to be what? Let me ask you this: are you doing this because it's your turn, or because you're inspired?
I'm inspired. I've been there for 3-4 years We did a lot of hard work, and I just want to see that hard work moving forward. I don't want to see the city
is like
going back.
blah, 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 blah.
Well,
if I had a nickel for every candidate that told me they're moving forward, I don't even know moving
okay.
forward.
I
How do we know
have
we've
an
moved
agenda.
forward?
I have an agenda. My agenda is to rebuild our schools. Okay, that's the vision that I have moving forward. Schools, I have a vision of creating jobs. Everybody has a vision of what they want to see with the city. That's what I want to see with the city. I want to see quality neighborhoods. I'm 57 years old. I'm not going anywhere. I'm in Providence. I'm here the rest of my life.
I get that.
You know,
ask
I
you
go
this.
to work every day.
Speaking of that, I mean, you're only a few years older than me, so I can't start talking about old, white, middle-aged guys.
Somebody mentioned that the other day.
But the truth of the matter is that the electorate in the general might be looking at two white, middle-aged pals to choose from between you and Cianci and might not be able to tell the difference
He's in
between
his
the two.
70s.
Huh?
He's in his 70s.
Well, that's right. He's not middle-aged. Well, two 50-plus established guys. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I know, but I don't. Today's 57 is today's 47.
Yeah, well, can you run a mile in these days?
Yes, I can.
Can you?
Absolutely.
Yeah, all right.
Absolutely.
I said, what do you run it in? Not if you can make it.
Oh, I thought you said, can you run a mile? I can do a 10-minute. We can do a 10-minute mile.
All right. Bottom line, I'm sure you're exhausted. Everybody is as you head toward the primary. But what's the final message for people as they consider your candidacy?
Experience, moving the city forward. And I have the experience to move the city forward, and I have the vision to move the city forward, and I'm determined to. And, I'm just looking forward to getting past the primary, getting into the general, and then getting back to work, rolling up our sleeves and working.
And I'm guessing, should you win, you'll take on the mayor here, right?
Absolutely.
All right, Mike, good to see you. Good
Dan,
luck.
thank you very much.
All right, your state of mind, we come back. Stay with us. So we went a little bit long there, and I don't have time for your state of mind, but this is how you get in touch with us, of course. So you have to do is call us at 228-1886 or email us or tweet or Facebook post. I will remind you that tomorrow night we have the Republican candidates for Congress, Cormac Lynch and Stan Tran, in a debate that we've already recorded. And then, of course, we'll be back next week, the day before the primary, trying to figure this whole thing out, all right? So you have a great tomorrow. We'll see you then.